there's a moment that we're about to experience as a world.
Mm-hmm.
And even though they have extended EUDR, the implementation for, another 6 to 12 months, we're about to figure out how serious consumers are about sustainability and climate change and deforestation. And if this works, this is going to go all over the world. If it doesn't work, coffee producers are going to end up fucked again.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And how much more can we expect coffee producers to have to carry the load? Friends, we have an announcement. On October 28, 29 and 30, Mapple Forward is proud to present the first of its kind live online event titled Introduction to Regenerative Coffee Farming. This workshop will happen live in 3 different events in English, Spanish, and Portuguese to help coffee producers and the rest of us in the coffee industry understand regenerative ag and how to implement it so that coffee farmers stand a chance at surviving these brutal weather conditions long into the future. It will also help us understand how we can talk about regenerative ag to our customers. This live online presentation will be led by highly specialized and experienced agronomists, coffee producers, and agricultural engineers who have worked transforming coffee farms from conventional farms to regenerative farms and agroforestry around the world. Tickets are $10 for coffee producers and $150 for everybody else. When you pay $150 though, you're securing your ticket and the ticket of 14 other coffee producers that didn't quite have the funds to pay for their own tickets. Not only does your ticket buy you access to the workshop, but it also gives you access to newly formed WhatsApp groups, one in English, one in Spanish, one in Portuguese, where people can continue to exchange information and ideas about regenerative ag before and after the workshops. For more details, head to mappleforward.coffee/workshops. Check the link in the show notes for details and help us spread the word about this workshop by sharing our posts on social media. Welcome to the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward, friends. I'm your host, Lee Safar, and this is unfortunately the final episode in our 5-part series with Jonas Ferraresso, agronomist from Brazil, where we're talking about the economics of the different ways of growing coffee in Brazil. Jonas, this has been a really enlightening series where we've kind of really got a deep dive into understanding what's going on with the economics of growing coffee in Brazil this year, and how we're likely to see that impact over the next coming 2 harvests. As well, we've talked a lot about the ROI and the challenges of the different ways of, or the different systems that are used for growing coffee, whether it's conventional, whether it's organic, regenerative, agroforestry. There's different decisions that individual producers need to make based on their own circumstances and the return on investment that they're looking for when they make these approaches and perhaps change and do different things. In this episode, as we wrap up the series, we want to talk about what needs to change for us to find a way out of what I guess we're calling at Mapple Forward the coffee crisis. And different parts of the supply chain are experiencing this crisis for very different reasons, but they're all having negative feedback loops onto each other. So we've covered what a lot of the crisis is in Brazil. As we move forward, what needs to change?
Mm-hmm. I think the answer for that question is the answer that everyone knew it for a long time. And for me, it's education. We need more education for all the people that are related to the chain, if the impact is in the chain, which is a huge chain, by the way, because if you drink coffee, you are part of the chain in some way. So everyone is almost worldwide is part of the coffee chain in some level.
Yeah.
And for me, it's less about, sound weird, but it's, in my opinion, it's more about education and less about laws and regulation, because we saw about that in a way that pushed the envelope to the farmer or to the customer in order to have that solution in short term. But
you mean EUDR?
Yeah, things like that.
Yeah,
is the idea is not wrong,
right?
But how it made
the
it,
implementation.
it's the problem, it's not about, to reduce deforestation, you need to do that worldwide, in order to match something that's for like consumer countries, but they are not seeing how the producer countries have the conditions to implement that. And if this will affect the economic of this country in some level. I totally understand that climate issues need to be a solution for now, not for the future. But we have to think better how to do that in many countries, because they are totally different. When I know the community like Europe Union have the rights to do whatever they want with their laws, but they will impact many countries for that. And we still have the problem that there are another players involved in coffee chain, like Asia or China, that could be interested in buy that coffee or buy that without so many protection. Yeah. That's why I said that the idea of community. So, if you are not interested, there are many countries on Asia that are interested in buy my coffee or my stuff without this complicated regulation that were pushing to me to do it. And I could start to be more interested to sell products to them, and maybe you could have a shorting supply in short term until we find the real good solution for that. That is when I talk about laws, it happens in Brazil too. So they create laws and regulation.
Yeah. Right, until there's China DR and Australia DR and USA DR.
Exactly. Which
will come.
We have to think about that, about these regulations need to be done. And usually I know politics is very complicated and take a lot of time to have some kind of agreement between the parts, but it's part of a long-term solution. So, I know that we cannot put forests down in order to plant soy or create cattle. It's important. I'm not stupid about that. When I say that the law is not good, it's not because of the law, and how this could be real long-term results for all the countries that export to Europe or any country. Or maybe you could think about how farmers gonna implement all of that, or even if there's some level of impact of each crop, like coffee. If you take, like I said, the data from Brazil, we're not expanding area for the last 15 years. And if you take the last 40 years of growing coffee, we used to grow coffee in 1984 in 2.6 million hectares of land. And since 2009, we are growing 2 million hectares until there for now. So we not expand, we not take more land to grow coffee in Brazil. We stay with the same amount of land in the last 15 years. So this regulation should be important, but maybe for coffee or for corn or for orange could be a little bit different, how this regulation could impact the chain of each cropping or each agriculture management, could be cattle or pole. This is important to understand each part to see if they will be giving the result that the European Union are seeking for when they just address a new regulation.
My friend, I think this is one of those scenarios where the EU have decided we're going to do this because this is what our people want, but we're going to do it in a way that makes it the easiest way for us to implement. And you're going to have to go and figure it out. We're going to tell you who's responsible for doing the due diligence, and it's your problem to figure it out after that. If you don't want to sell coffee to the EU, no problem. Go sell it to China. Go sell it to America. Go sell it to other parts of Asia. We don't care. But if you're going to bring coffee into the EU, these are the rules. We don't care. They're going to apply to everybody. Because if we have to start getting specific about the difference between coffee and soy, we don't have the resources to take care of that. So coffee producers, we're not going to make it your responsibility. We're going to make it the importer's responsibility. And what did the importer do? The importer made it the coffee producer's responsibility. So the EU got to wash their hands of making it the coffee producer's responsibility, but the importer didn't. The importer has decided, okay, Mr. Coffee Producer, okay, Mr. Exporter, go and find me the data. So somehow with the European Union, I think it is a fantastic initiative for what they want it to be. I really, really love it. And I really hope that it is successful, because what that means is we're going to stop people from burning down forests, and we need to find a way to stop people burning down forests. It also means that coffee is going to be more expensive in Europe because there's going to be less of it. So that's also fantastic, which means because of the drop in supply, people clearly, the consumer particularly, clearly understands that because of this directive that they wanted, the cost of coffee has to go up. So that justifies selling the cup of coffee for a higher price, which means by natural numbers, the logical approach would be that those businesses understand that when an importer is charging you more for coffee, this is the reason it's going to be more for coffee. But was it the importer that put the effort into making sure that that coffee was compliant with EUDR regulations, or did that expense get transferred over to the exporter and the producer? And is the exporter getting away with being allowed to charge more, or is the importer saying, but my roasters won't accept that price? There's a real, I guess, there's a moment that we're about to experience as a world. And even though they have extended EUDR, the implementation for, another 6 to 12 months, we're about to figure out how serious consumers are about sustainability and climate change and deforestation. And if this works, this is going to go all over the world. If it doesn't work, coffee producers are going to end up fucked again. And how much more can we expect coffee producers to have to carry the load? There's nothing left there for them to do. Sure, the prices are high, but now what we've done is we've made it more expensive for them to do what they're going to do. And we've told them you can't cut down trees to grow more coffee to subsidize how much more expensive it is. So when we look at what's going to be in the future, yes, there are regulations, as you were saying, that I think could be helpful, only if we're able to execute them in a way that doesn't make it harder to grow coffee, because it's hard enough already.
This is the point, I think.
So when we look at other ways, other things that we need to change in order for us to move forward and for coffee, Murillo was saying that as an agronomist and an agricultural engineer, he said there are 20 harvests left in coffee. And you look at that and you think that's kind of terrifying. And other people come in and say there's 60 harvests. So let's say it's somewhere between 20 and 60 harvests left before you can't grow coffee anymore because of temperature, because of monocropping, because of a whole bunch of things. What else needs to change so that we can find our way to having longevity in coffee?
It's hard to think in terms of, because for me the biggest problem, the major problem is climate, which most of the people on the scientific area agrees that we are facing the impacts now, and it will be not easier to reverse in short and medium term. No matter what we do now, we still will face the impacts of climate for a long term, even if we take all the measures now.
So we can't stop this train, is what you're saying?
Yeah, my thing is because there's so much stuff that we need to change, that people need to change, that affect people as a whole, because climate affects the humankind as a whole. No matter if you're in the industry or if you grow some potatoes on your yard or you have a big company, oil company, everyone knows that in some level that something is wrong. And we have to change. But the biggest problem too is related to economics, is money. Changing, it's about lost money and spending money.
We go back to ROI, right? We go back to the return on investment. Are people going to see the return on investment immediately or ever?
Yeah, it's so for coffee, for instance, what farmers are doing is find a way to protect them for the problems that they're facing, like I said, irrigation, agroforests, using of organic matter, biochar, reduce the usage of pesticides, less dependency for energy, and for depending less on people, like hand labor is part of economic successful of coffee. I think coffee, due to the research and technology, I believe will be not easier to grow coffee in the future, but will be possible to grow coffee in the future. At least in Brazil, we have studies in more genetics, that varieties that more resistant to climate issues, with plagues or diseases, in technology of growing and implementation. But the issue is always something to mitigate the problem. Like I cannot grow a lot of coffee using these techniques because I still have a lot of pressure, environmental pressure. So I still will be able to grow coffee, but but I used to harvest 400 bags a year in my land. Now I should just harvest 200 bags, because even if I use all the techniques, it's still pressure on the coffee fields, and maybe the coffee will be very expensive. And if they will be very expensive, maybe they will not be a massive commodity drink worldwide.
It becomes boutique, right?
Yeah, like it's too much expensive to drink coffee. Okay, I will drink tea or whatever, or soda or something that's cheaper to me.
Except sugar's going to get more expensive as well. Didn't all the sugar, like a lot of sugar was burning down in Sahara recently, right?
Yeah, too. Yes. The difference of sugar is still a short-term cropping. It's not very short like corn, because we could harvest like 6 or 7 years in a row of sugar cane, but still not a very big issue like perennial crops like cacao, coffee, and orange. But the thing is how expensive crops could be, and how small farmers are be able to put all this level of technology, which means more investment to the fields. Maybe it will be like a boutique, you said, product, right? And this is good for the chain. I don't think so. This gives less opportunity for drinkers and growers to grow coffee and how we gonna deal with that pass for agriculture, but pass through cities, industry. One thing about climate that sometimes pissed me off, it's when people for huge cities says that farmer is not sustainable and they live in a huge city with put a lot of output of CO2 and they expend a lot of money in stuff that don't make sense for me. And they said that farmers are not sustainable.
How dare they?
Yeah, they like farmers are polluting. I forgot the word.
Yeah.
Yeah, the environmental. And I say, really? You you drive a huge car with consume a lot of gas,
and you grow zero food.
Yeah, and farmers are the one that are impacting environmental.
It's ironic.
They are impacting too in some way, but it's very, I forgot the word when you...
Hypocritical.
Yeah, exactly. When you said that, so, okay, farmers need to change the way they are growing, but you need to change the way that you are living.
Well, I live in Dubai, so very much we all need to change that in Dubai. Now I need to go and move to a forest. Jonas, this has been an outstanding series. Thank you very much. It never disappoints having a conversation with you. I always learn a lot. Thank you very much. Please tell people how they can find you on LinkedIn and on Instagram. You're on Twitter as well, I think, right?
Yeah.
So
I'm on Instagram, which is Jonas Coffee Agronomist, and on LinkedIn too, as Jonas Ferraresso. Where I usually post something. In this year, I got back to writing a little bit because the last year I was stopped a little bit because of the climate issues. So I have a lot of work on fields. We're still having a lot of work on fields, but I try to balance that in order to bring information to the community, to the coffee community, about growing farmers and things like that. Is a way that I could, I think, support drinkers or people who are interested, roasters, in coffee growing in Brazil, mainly because, like I said, I saw a lot of people talking about growing coffee in Brazil and how to solve the problems here, and they do not understand well what a kind of issues we have here. It's people like Angela in Colombia or in other countries. It's important to they say loud what happens to people understand, okay, Brazil is different of Colombia, which is different for Indonesia and Vietnam and whatever, on Ethiopia. It's part of the education program that we have to show, and it's part of the work you do.
Thank you.
Bringing people for different countries with different expertise to give their view to the coffee chains and educate customers and people about what is coffee chain, what is grow coffee, what is roast or export or sea market, and everything that is bound to this huge chain worldwide.
When I started this podcast, straight up, like we hit over 1,200 episodes last week, and I had no idea how complex and complicated this whole thing is when I started this podcast. But I'm starting to understand it, Jonas. And I don't even feel like I've scratched the surface.
Yeah, it's good for you because you have an endless number of people to talk about.
It's fantastic for me.
To bring to the podcast.
It's very sustainable for my business model. Boom, boom. On that note, Jonas, will you sign off this series for us, please?
Okay. Bye-bye.
Will you say peace? Will you sign off with peace, love, and peanut butter for us?
Peace, love, and peanut butter.
Have an amazing rest of your day, everyone. Bye.
Bye-bye.
I really hope you enjoyed this episode, friends. Please don't forget to show us some love by subscribing, liking, commenting, and most of all, sharing this podcast with your friends. Check the show notes for links, including our sponsors and our Patreon. And stay tuned for more great conversations on the Daily Coffee Pro by Map It Forward.